Have you ever wondered what the true meaning of life is? Why do we keep going through the same experiences, the same joys and sorrows, over and over again? Is there a way to break free from this endless cycle of existence? In today's video, we'll explore the Buddhist concept of samsara and uncover the secrets to liberating ourselves from the wheel of rebirth. Hello, fellow truth seekers. It's Peter here, and welcome back to another enlightening episode of Buddha's Wisdom. In our last video, we explored the concept of karma and how our actions shape our lives. If you haven't watched it yet, be sure to check it out after this one. As promised, today we're diving even deeper into Buddhist philosophy to tackle the profound concept of samsara, the cycle of rebirth. Imagine a vast wheel turning endlessly through time, with each spoke representing a different life. We find ourselves reborn again and again, experiencing the highs and lows, the joys and sorrows of existence. But what if there was a way to step off this wheel, to find lasting peace and happiness? That's where the wisdom of samsara comes in. Understanding samsara is like holding a key that can unlock the door to true liberation. It's a concept that goes beyond the idea of simple reincarnation, revealing the intricate web of cause and effect that binds us to the cycle of rebirth. So come along with me on this journey of discovery as we explore the profound insights that the Buddha shared with the world. Let's unravel the mysteries of samsara together and discover the way to ultimate liberation. Now let's jump into the heart of the matter. What exactly is samsara? In the simplest terms, samsara refers to the continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that all beings go through, according to Buddhist teachings. It's the endless journey through the various realms of existence, driven by our karma and our unresolved desires and attachments. In Buddhism, reincarnation refers to the belief that after death, a person's consciousness or soul is reborn into a new body. This process is repeated over and over again, with each new life being determined by the actions and intentions, karma, of the previous life. This continuous cycle of death and rebirth is known as samsara. The suffering of rebirth is a central theme in Buddhist teachings. Each time a being is reborn, they are subject to the inherent suffering of existence, such as birth, aging, sickness, and death. Even in the higher realms where beings experience immense pleasures and long lifespans, suffering is still present in the form of impermanence and the inevitability of change. In the lower realms, suffering is more apparent, with beings experiencing intense pain, hunger, fear, and other forms of distress. The Buddha taught that as long as we remain trapped in samsara, we will continue to experience suffering, regardless of which realm we are born into. Samsara, however, is more than just reincarnation. It encompasses the entire cycle of existence, from birth to death, and all the joys, sorrows, and experiences in between. It's the endless journey through the various realms of existence, driven by our karma and our unresolved desires and attachments. Imagine this. You're a weary traveler moving from one life to the next, carrying the weight of your past actions and experiences with you. Each new birth is like a fresh start, but it's also influenced by the karma you've accumulated in your previous lives. This cycle continues indefinitely, with beings rising and falling through the different realms, experiencing the full spectrum of joys and sorrows that existence has to offer. In Buddhist cosmology, there are 6 main realms that beings can be reborn into within samsara. These include the God realm, the demigod realm, the human realm, the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, and the hell realm. Each of these realms is characterized by a specific type of suffering or happiness, and the actions we take in our current life can determine which realm we'll be reborn into next. But here's the thing, no matter which realm we find ourselves in, the experience of samsara ultimately leads to discontentment. Even the gods, who enjoy immense pleasures and long lifespans, are not immune to the inevitability of change and death. They too will eventually fall from their lofty positions and be reborn in a lower realm. This is why the Buddha taught that true happiness and liberation cannot be found within samsara itself. So if samsara is this endless cycle of suffering, what keeps us trapped within it? The answer lies in the very fabric of our being, our ignorance, attachment, and aversion. These are known as the three poisons. The three poisons are the root causes that keep us bound to the cycle of samsara. And understanding them is key to breaking free from the wheel of rebirth. As the Buddha said, the root of suffering is attachment. Dhammapada, verse 201. First, let's talk about ignorance. This isn't just a lack of knowledge or information. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of reality. We cling to the idea of a permanent, unchanging self, and we believe that the things we desire will bring us lasting happiness. But the truth is that everything in this world is impermanent and subject to change. By failing to recognize this, we set ourselves up for suffering and disappointment. Next, we have attachment. This is the craving or desire that arises when we encounter something we find pleasant or enjoyable. Whether it's a material object, a sensory experience, or even a person, we grasp at it hoping to make it a permanent part of our lives. But as we've seen, nothing lasts forever. And when the object of our attachment inevitably changes or disappears, we're left with a sense of loss and dissatisfaction. Finally, there's aversion, which is the flip side of attachment. This is the anger, hatred, or repulsion we feel towards anything we deem unpleasant or uncomfortable. We try to push these experiences away, but in doing so, we create even more suffering for ourselves. We get caught up in cycles of negative emotions and reactive behavior, which only serve to reinforce our sense of separation and dissatisfaction. Together, these three poisons create a web of craving and delusion that keeps us trapped in samsara. We chase after the things we desire, flee from the things we dislike, and remain ignorant of the true nature of reality. As a result, we continue to create karma, both positive and negative, which propels us into future rebirths. But here's the good news. The Buddha didn't just diagnose the problem. He also provided a solution. By following the path he laid out, the Noble Eightfold Path, we can start the process of freeing ourselves from the complex network of samsara and move towards true freedom and happiness. This path involves practicing right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By cultivating these qualities and insights, we can start to see through the illusion of the self and the inherent dissatisfaction of samsara. We can learn to let go of our attachments, transform our aversions, and live with greater wisdom and compassion, and ultimately we can break free from the cycle of rebirth altogether, attaining the supreme happiness and peace of Nirvana. But the journey to liberation is not always an easy one. It requires dedication, discipline, and a willingness to confront the deepest parts of ourselves. Samsara is driven by our own ignorance, attachment, and aversion, the three poisons that keep us trapped in the cycle of rebirth. But where do these poisons come from? And how do they create the karma that propels us through the various realms of existence? At the most fundamental level, the cause of samsara is our own mind. It's the way we perceive and interact with the world around us, based on our past experiences, our conditioning, and our innate tendencies. When we're caught up in the delusion of the self, we naturally grasp at the things we find pleasant and push away the things we find unpleasant. This creates a never-ending cycle of craving and aversion, as we try to control and manipulate our experience to suit our desires. But the problem is that this approach never really works. No matter how much we chase after the things we want or try to avoid the things we don't, we can never find lasting satisfaction. This is because everything in the world is impermanent and subject to change. The pleasure we derive from our attachments is fleeting, and the discomfort we experience from our aversions is inevitable. So we find ourselves caught in a bind. We're constantly trying to rearrange the pieces of our lives to create a sense of stability and happiness, but the very nature of samsara makes this impossible. It's like trying to build a castle on a foundation of sand. No matter how carefully we construct it, it's bound to crumble and fall. And yet, we keep trying. We keep chasing after the next big thing, the next experience that we think will finally make us happy. We keep running from the things that scare us or make us uncomfortable, hoping that we can somehow escape the realities of life. And in doing so, we create more and more karma, both positive and negative, that keeps us spinning on the wheel of samsara. This is why the Buddha placed so much emphasis on understanding the true nature of the self and the world around us. By seeing things as they really are, free from the distortions of our own minds, we can begin to release ourselves from the repetitive loop of attachment and repulsion. We can start to let go of our attachments and make peace with the inevitable ups and downs of life. Of course, this isn't easy. It requires a deep level of introspection and a willingness to confront the parts of ourselves that we may have been avoiding for a long time. But with practice and patience, we can slowly start to untangle the knots of our own making and find a greater sense of freedom and peace. And as we do so, we may start to notice something interesting. We may start to see that the very things we thought were causing our suffering, the external circumstances of our lives, are not really the problem at all. The real cause of our suffering is the way we relate to those circumstances, the way we grasp at what we like and push away what we don't. This is a profound realization, and it's one that can change the way we live our lives. Instead of constantly trying to control and manipulate the world around us, we can start to focus on changing our own minds. We can start to cultivate the qualities of wisdom, compassion, and equanimity that will allow us to navigate the ups and downs of life with greater ease and grace. And as we do so, we may find that the causes of samsara start to lose their grip on us. We may find that we're able to face the challenges of life with a greater sense of resilience and perspective, knowing that everything is impermanent and that our true nature is something much deeper and more profound than the fleeting experiences of the self. Let's remember that the causes of our suffering are not outside of ourselves. They're within us, in the very fabric of our own minds. And with practice, patience, and a willingness to look deeply, we can start to unravel those causes and find a greater sense of freedom and peace, both for ourselves and for all beings. It's now important to also consider the consequences of this endless cycle of rebirth. What happens when we remain bound by our own ignorance, attachment, and aversion? And what are the effects of this on our lives and the lives of those around us? Perhaps the most obvious consequence of being trapped in samsara is the daily struggles and unease that we face. Even in the moments when we feel happy and content, there's always an underlying sense that something is missing, that we're not quite whole. We may distract ourselves with various pleasures and pursuits, but deep down we know that these things can never truly satisfy us. This is because the very nature of samsara is one of impermanence and change. As the Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Dhammapada, verse 277. No matter how much we try to hold on to the things we love or push away the things we don't, we can never escape the fact that everything is constantly shifting and evolving. Our relationships, our possessions, our own bodies and minds, all of these things are subject to the forces of time and change, and no amount of grasping or aversion can alter this fundamental truth. And yet we keep trying. We keep clinging to the illusion of permanence, hoping that somehow this time will be different. We build our lives around the pursuit of stability and security, only to watch as everything we've worked for crumbles away in the face of impermanence. This can be a deeply painful and disillusioning process, one that leaves us feeling lost, alone, and disconnected from the world around us. But the consequences of being trapped in samsara go beyond just our own personal suffering. When we're caught up in the cycle of craving and aversion, we often act in ways that cause harm to ourselves and others. We may lash out in anger when things don't go our way, or we may withdraw into ourselves when we feel hurt or afraid. We may engage in addictive or destructive behaviors, hoping to find some kind of escape from the pain of our own existence. And all of this has ripple effects that extend far beyond our own lives. Our actions and choices impact the people around us, the communities we live in, and the world as a whole. When we're trapped in samsara, we're not able to show up as our best selves, to be of service to others, or to create the kind of positive change that the world so desperately needs. But perhaps the most tragic consequence of being trapped in samsara is that it prevents us from realizing our true nature and potential. The Buddha taught that all beings have the capacity for awakening, for liberation from the cycle of suffering and rebirth. But when we're caught up in the delusions of the self, we're not able to see this potential within ourselves or others. We remain stuck in a limited and distorted view of reality, unable to experience the boundless freedom and joy that is our birthright. And so we continue to wander through the realms of samsara, pushed and pulled by the forces of our own ignorance and craving. We may experience moments of happiness and pleasure, but these are always fleeting, always giving way to the next cycle of discontentment and distress. And all the while, we remain blind to the deeper reality of our own being, to the vast and luminous nature of our own minds. But the good news is that we don't have to remain trapped in this cycle forever. The Buddha's teachings offer us a path to liberation, a way to break free from the chains of samsara and realize our true potential as awakened beings. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, we can slowly start to untangle the knots of our own suffering and find a deeper sense of peace and freedom. It's not always an easy path, and it requires a great deal of dedication and effort. But the rewards are immeasurable. As we start to see through the illusions of the self and the world around us, we begin to experience a profound sense of connection and unity with all things. We start to live from a place of greater love, compassion, and understanding, knowing that we are all part of a vast and interconnected web of being. And as we do so, the consequences of being trapped in samsara start to fall away. We no longer feel the need to grasp at fleeting pleasures or push away inevitable discomforts. We're able to meet the challenges of life with greater resilience and grace, knowing that everything is impermanent and that our true nature is something much deeper and more profound than the fluctuations of the self. So remember the consequences of being trapped in samsara, but also remember the boundless potential that lies within each and every one of us. With practice, patience, and an open heart, we can all find our way to greater freedom, happiness, and peace. As we've seen, the consequences of being trapped in samsara are significant, leading to a sense of suffering, dissatisfaction, and disconnection from our true nature. But the Buddha's teachings also offer us a way out, a path to liberation that can free us from the endless cycle of rebirth and help us to realize our deepest potential for happiness and peace. This path is known as the Noble Eightfold Path, and it consists of 8 key components that work together to transform our minds and our lives. As the Buddha taught, the path to true happiness and liberation is the Noble Eightfold Path: right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. At its core, the Noble Eightfold Path is about developing wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness in all aspects of our lives. By cultivating these qualities, we can begin to see through the illusions of the self and the world around us, and start to live in a way that is more aligned with our true nature. One of the key aspects of the path is right view, which involves understanding the Four Noble Truths and the nature of samsara. This understanding helps us to see the root causes of our suffering and the way to freedom, and it provides a foundation for the rest of the path. From there, we can start to cultivate right intention, which involves setting our minds on the path of liberation and committing to a life of compassion, wisdom, and non-harming. This intention guides our actions and choices, helping us to make decisions that are in line with our deepest values and aspirations. As we continue on the path, we also work to develop right speech, right action, and right livelihood. This means speaking and acting in ways that are honest, kind, and beneficial to ourselves and others, and choosing a way of life that does not cause harm or suffering. At the same time, we cultivate right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These practices help us to develop greater awareness, focus, and resilience in the face of life's challenges, allowing us to meet each moment with greater clarity and compassion. Through this process of inner transformation, we slowly start to loosen the grip of samsara on our minds and hearts. We begin to experience a deeper sense of peace, contentment, and connection with the world around us, even in the midst of life's ups and downs. There will be times when we feel stuck, confused, or overwhelmed, and it can be tempting to fall back into old patterns of grasping and aversion. But with practice and patience, we can learn to meet these challenges with greater skillfulness and grace. We can learn to see each moment as an opportunity for growth and awakening, and to trust in the inherent wisdom and compassion of our own minds. As we do so, we may start to notice profound shifts in the way we experience ourselves and the world around us. We may find that our relationships become more harmonious and fulfilling, that our work becomes a source of joy and purpose, and that our lives as a whole feel more aligned with our deepest values and aspirations. And perhaps most importantly, we may start to experience a sense of liberation from the suffering and dissatisfaction of samsara. We may find that we're able to meet life's challenges with greater equanimity and resilience, knowing that our true nature is something much deeper and more profound than the fluctuations of the self. So remember that liberation is possible, and that each moment is an opportunity to take a step closer to freedom. With dedication, patience, and an open heart, we can all find our way to a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and connection, both for ourselves and for all beings. With the guidance of the Buddha's teachings and the support of our spiritual community, we can all find our way to the ultimate goal of liberation from samsara and the realization of our true nature as awakened beings. As we come to the end of our exploration of samsara and the path to liberation, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to all of you who have joined me on this journey. It has been an honor and a privilege to share these teachings with you, and to witness the profound transformations that can happen when we open our hearts and minds to the wisdom of the Buddha. Throughout our time together, we've explored the nature of samsara and the causes that keep us trapped within it. We've seen how our own ignorance, attachment, and aversion create a cycle of suffering and dissatisfaction that can feel endless and inescapable. But we've also discovered that there is a way out, a path to freedom that is available to us in every moment. By cultivating the qualities of wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness, we can start to break free from the cycle of rebirth and realize our true potential as awakened beings. So keep practicing. Keep showing up for yourselves and others with kindness, patience, and understanding. Keep exploring the depths of your own mind and heart, and trust in the transformative power of the path. And most importantly, keep connecting with others on this journey. Reach out to your spiritual community, share your struggles and insights, and offer your support and encouragement to those who need it most. Together, we can create a world of greater peace, compassion, and freedom, one moment at a time. If you found value in these teachings and want to explore deeper into the path of liberation, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and join our growing community of spiritual seekers. By hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications, you'll be the first to know about new videos and other opportunities to connect and grow. Please feel free to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts and reflections. Your feedback and insights are invaluable to us and help us to create content that is truly meaningful and transformative. Thank you again for joining me on this journey and for your dedication to the path of awakening. May you find the strength, courage, and inspiration you need to keep going. And may you realize the ultimate goal of liberation from samsara, both for yourself and for all beings. Namaste.